This way.
Well, that sucks. Yeah, less than a week. And now guess what? Ghost of YoTei sales suffers. Oh yeah, I did heard from IGN. They've already released their articles. They give Ghost of YoTei an 8. No, I'm not joking. They do.
Ghost of YoTei is a triumph of all artistic disciplines in the video game medium. A devastating narrative hook will quickly lead to 50+ hours of riveting adventure.
We're gonna skip to the Metacritic scores and then we'll skip to the meat and potato, okay?
Well, not that shot.
Ghost of YoTei has a score of 87 currently over on Metacritic, and you want to know how you can tell that there is a concerted effort going on right now to launder the image of this game and try to convince you that it's okay to buy it? Look at the number of reviews for this thing as of the time of this recording. The review embargo just lifted an hour or so ago, and there are already 102 reviews. The average AAA game usually only gets between 60 and 80 reviews. Look at the recently released Borderlands 4 with 78 reviews as an example, or the just released Silent Hill F has 77. The journalists only come out of the woodwork like this when there is a clear message that they think they need to tell.
Okay, we're skipping. As much as I like this one.
But anyhow, let's take a look at this Ghost of YoTei situation. Every trailer that gets put out for this game gets absolutely embroiled in the controversy that they have courted. For a week or so there, the trailers released by Sucker Punch for the game were getting completely destroyed. But it is worth noting that the shills are out in force for this game. I think that right after the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, a lot of these sorts of people understood how optically poor it would have been to come out and support this game, but now apparently they feel that enough time has lapsed because now they are fighting back. This features trailer here just came out a couple days ago. They've hit 375,000 views on it so far, but unlike a lot of these other trailers put out for Ghost of YoTei, they weren't ratioed in the first day. They are currently at 15,000 likes to 11,000 dislikes. I suspect that this one will be ratioed by the time all is said and done. However, it does seem that the momentum in support of the game is picking up, or momentum against it is slowing down, and I strongly expect that it comes down to all of these shills and game journalist types putting out the bat signal and calling for aid, combined with the immediate shock and outrage over Charlie Kirk's death fading at least a little bit.
Okay, let's be clear one thing. The shills and the console fanboys, they're gonna buy this game either way. Let's take that out of the way, because the one thing we should do is to convince the average everyday normal people, okay? If the average everyday normal people see someone, such as Drew Harrison, mocks the death of Charlie Kirk, they will instantly leave and drove. That's the one thing we need to convince, okay? The average everyday normal people.
That being said, the controversy is definitely still a problem for Sony and Sucker Punch, which is obviously why they did not even mention this game at the State of Play yesterday. A launch trailer was just released on the same day as the State of Play, but Sony clearly wanted to divorce their State of Play from Ghost of YoTei. That is how you know that this is a game that is damaged goods and that sales have been slumping. The fact that Sony isolated this game as if it was someone sick with a plague tells you everything that you need to know. That being said, for anyone who doesn't know, I used to own my own game store where we sold video games, and I have a few contacts in the retail spaces from people who have access to the sales data of nearly 50 retail stores. And they often give me data on pre-order numbers for upcoming games so that we can see how the sales of games are trending. It was with this information that last year I correctly predicted the flop of Star Wars Outlaws and Dragon Age the Veilguard, even though game journalists were shilling hard for both of them and trying to make it seem like they were both going to be huge hits, it is also how I predicted last year that Space Marine 2 would be a massive hit that did much better than the likes of Star Wars Outlaws, and I was able to predict that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 from earlier this year was going to be a big hit despite the controversies which that game endured.
Now, I know some of you say, oh, physical retail doesn't count for digital. But look, sometimes if you know the physical retail has no sales or anything, then you can tell immediately that the digital is not gonna fare any better. Second of all, platform, okay? I did confirm, or I checked, Ghost of YoTei will be released on PS5 only, and I'm 100% certain that Nixxes is still working on the Ghost of YoTei PC port. If Ghost of YoTei flop on the PS5, then the PC port have to be speed up at least a month or maybe 2 weeks from now, from the actual release date. Do you remember Marvel Spider-Man 2? That game, when it launched, there was bugs, glitches. And what they do, they speed up the PC port. Took them 15 months. But let's hope that Marvel's Wolverine will be day and date. Yes, SteamDB player count may not be accurate, but at least you know whether or not a game will flop or will succeed.
Last week, we talked about Ghost of YoTei and how the game had 56 pre-orders in those nearly 50 retail stores when it was 2 weeks removed from its release, meaning that it was trending behind Dragon Age the Veilguard, which had 67 pre-orders at the stage where they were 2 weeks out from release. This is not a good look for a game that needs to hit over 2 million copies in its first few days in order to keep up with its predecessor, Ghost of Tsushima. But what was really hurting Ghost of YoTei were the refunds. There were 25 refunds as of last week when we last talked about this. This week, though, the refunds seem to have slowed down. Most of the people who wanted refunds seem to have done so already as of right now. With about a week to go before release in all of these stores, Ghost of YoTei is sitting at 71 copies sold with 27 refunded copies. They still haven't overtaken Dragon Age the Veilguard though. That game, when it was a week removed from release, was at 75 copies sold. If it weren't for the refunds, Ghost of YoTei would have been trending way ahead. However, they are still way behind Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That game ended up selling a few million copies in its first week or so, which is what Ghost of YoTei needs to end up doing, and that game, Kingdom Come, in those same retail stores, when it was a week removed from release, had sold 220 pre-orders. So, as you can see, Ghost of YoTei is trending far behind a fairly successful game like that, and I'm glad to hear it because in my view, this is still an unplayable game for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being that as a matter of principle...
Again, before that, these grifters, the one that many of these shills likes to popped up, they only highlighting the bad apples, okay? Look, you can buy the game if you want to. Nobody's saying you shouldn't, but you have to understand there are some people, the bad actors, who doesn't care about you, who rather see you dead, and now they are openly mocking Charlie Kirk's death. And remember, we're trying to convince the average, everyday, normal people. All they want is escapism. That's it.
Before the recent political violence, but as a matter of principle, I will not support any game with Erika Ishii starring in it. She is a wacko activist who has a habit of starring in games that push they-them ideology, and suffice to say that I am diametrically opposed to virtually everything that comes out of her mouth. I'm also sick of the girl boss replacement trope. Jin Sakai deserved a true sequel, so these game journalists haven't swayed me. But it is certainly worth pointing out that the game does appear to be gaining at least some momentum as shills be shilling. It will be interesting to see how effective that is as the game comes out.
Yes, it will be interesting. Now for the record, again, like I said, IGN gave it an 8. Many other outlets, they're gonna give it the same score. A full star. And this is the reason why YouTubers are the new media. Although I would say, as a principle, after Drew Harrison mocked the death of Charlie Kirk, I'm not going to be buying it. All of you are welcome to buy it, okay? But understand one thing. All these people who want to grift off the rage like you claim. They're just pointing out the bad apples, okay? Where I come from, we will never ever tolerate people who celebrate or even mocking the death of Charlie Kirk. That's not how we roll. Also, this game, Ghost of YoTei, is released on the PS5, and I'm not certain about the PC port. I'm 100% certain Nixxes is already working on it, or perhaps they're already midway through it, I don't know for sure. But if Ghost of YoTei failed on the PS5, then the PC port had to be rushed in. It had to be like what, either a month or 2 months away. But even with the PC port, it will not help them. It will not help Sucker Punch production. It will not help Ghost of YoTei either.
Am I allowed inside?
Why, of course. Today you are most welcome. We must continue on ahead. Shall we rest first?
I'm okay. I think.
Tell me if you need a break. Now then, onward.